We should take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else!
That idea may just be crazy enough to get us all killed!
Bikini Bottom might look like just a quirky underwater town, but if you dive a little deeper, you'll find a whole vibe of intricate architecture and a wild government system going on beneath the waves. The Krusty Krab started as a crab trap, and the Chum Bucket? Total disaster, both in design and vibe. The way the city is set up totally shows off the quirks and challenges of the people living there. Bikini Bottom is like this wild mix of homes and businesses that totally give us a peek into the lives of its residents. Plus, the whole political and economic vibe of the place is just begging for fan theories and all kinds of speculation. It's such a goldmine for those deep dives. Honestly, Bikini Bottom is such a wild place. Its layout and how things are run totally match the show's hilarious vibe, but there's also this cool layer of depth that gives us a peek into the crazy complexities of life under the sea. The epic underwater city where SpongeBob SquarePants and his wild crew hang out has captivated fans for ages. It's wild with its weird architecture and super strange economy and government setup. Like, what even is going on with this place? It definitely leaves you with a ton of questions. What's the actual scoop on the Krusty Krab? And how does the Chum Bucket vibe with the whole underwater scene? Like, what's the deeper connection here? What's the deal with the wild design of homes and places in Bikini Bottom? What does it say about its backstory and how things are run there? This video dives into the idea that Bikini Bottom isn't just a bunch of quirky buildings thrown together, but actually a super thought-out urban space that mirrors the city's economy and politics. By diving into the episodes and breaking down fan theories, we can uncover the wild but super interesting logic behind Bikini Bottom's layout and government. Okay, so one of the wildest fan theories about Bikini Bottom is that the Krusty Krab isn't just your average fast food joint, but it's actually a crab trap that got a glow up. How crazy is that? This theory comes from how the Krusty Krab is designed, looking just like those old school lobster or crab traps that fishermen use. In the episode Help Wanted, when SpongeBob gets hired, the building's vibe, with its slatted wooden look and kind of creepy trap-like feel, makes you think it might have been used for catching crabs at some point. This theory has some wild implications for Mr. Krabs, the cash-obsessed owner of the Krusty Krab. What if Mr. Krabs flipped the script after dodging that fisherman, transforming the trap into a super successful business? That would be wild. This makes sense for why he's so into money and staying alive. Plus, he's got that hustle vibe going on. Turning something that was supposed to be his downfall into a money-making machine shows how clever and crafty Mr. Krabs really is. Also, the spot where the Krusty Krab is in Bikini Bottom says a lot. It's right in the middle of the city's commercial zone, showing just how important it is to the local economy. The Krusty Krab is like the most iconic spot in Bikini Bottom. It's not just where SpongeBob works, it's basically the heart and soul of the whole town. The way it shapes the local economy, along with Mr. Krabs' tight grip on the fast food scene, shows that the Krusty Krab is way more than just a place to grab a bite. It's a total economic force in Bikini Bottom. So on one side you've got the Krusty Krab thriving, and then right across the street is the Chum Bucket, which is like a total flop run by that villainous dude Plankton. It's just not hitting the mark. It catches your eye with its super weird design. It looks like an industrial bucket being held by a gloved hand, and its design represents how Plankton's business model is basically a trap. The whole vibe of a bucket and glove screams that Plankton is out here trying to grab any potential customers. But let's be real, his sketchy product, Chum, which is basically fish scraps, just sends people running in the opposite direction. People are saying that the Chum Bucket flopping might actually be a deeper look at how corporate competition and monopolies work. The Krusty Krab is killing it with its secret recipe and awesome food, while the Chum Bucket is just struggling hard, even trying to swipe the Krabby Patty formula to keep from sinking. The Chum Bucket vibes with this industrial, cold aesthetic, which is super different from the cozy, rustic feel of the Krusty Krab. It's a whole mood clash. The way these designs differ shows how the two owners think about business. Mr. Krabs is all about that classic, money-making vibe, while Plankton is just trying to hustle with his more frantic, industrial methods. Bikini Bottom isn't just a hub for businesses, it's also filled with quirky homes and wild architecture that make the place super unique. The vibe of each character's pad shows off who they are, adding to the city's unique and fun charm. SpongeBob's pineapple-shaped crib is iconic, representing his playful spirit and pure love for good vibes. So, the whole pineapple house thing is super interesting, right? It's often said to be this tropical fruit that just, fell off a boat, which adds this wild twist to SpongeBob's backstory. People talk about how SpongeBob's crib could represent him as that quirky outsider, the one who just doesn't vibe with the world around him. Meanwhile, Squidward's crib, a Moai head, vibes with his artsy, highbrow personality. The Moai statues are these super intriguing, ancient figures from Easter Island. They kind of show how Squidward thinks of himself as this sophisticated, cultured dude who's above everyone else in Bikini Bottom. The hard, stony vibe of his house clashes with SpongeBob's fun, pineapple pad, highlighting the drama between them. Patrick's rock also shows how architecture can vibe with someone's personality in Bikini Bottom. Patrick, chilling under a rock, is known for being super lazy and not the brightest bulb in the box. The chill vibe of his place, just a rock he can easily toss around, reflects his laid-back attitude and not-so-bright mindset. Honestly, Patrick's place vibes with his chill, no-fuss lifestyle. These one-of-a-kind homes back up the idea that Bikini Bottom's architecture isn't just random vibes, but actually crafted to show off the cool diversity of its residents. Every building has its own vibe, revealing bits and pieces about the person who calls it home, dropping hints about their life and personality for everyone to see. Have you ever thought about how Bikini Bottom's government works? It's super interesting to think about how the city's layout might actually show us a glimpse of its political vibes. Even though the show doesn't spell out how Bikini Bottom is run, there are definitely some episodes that give us a peek into its wild political and bureaucratic vibes. In SpongeBob's Last Stand, there's this epic showdown between the townsfolk and the government when Mr. Krabs decides to put a highway right through jellyfish fields. This sparks some serious protests and political action from SpongeBob and Patrick, and it's iconic. This episode vibes with the idea that Bikini Bottom has a government setup that's super prone to corruption and corporate takeover, just like a lot of cities we see in real life. Mr. Krabs flexing his power to get that highway built, even with all the environmental drama, shows just how much cash and business vibes control the city's leaders. It's wild that characters like SpongeBob and Patrick have to rally to save their town's natural resources. It really shows how the government doesn't always have the residents' best interests at heart. Also, having police officers like Officer Nancy and other public servants shows that there's a pretty classic government setup going on with law enforcement and public services in the mix. But the government messes up sometimes, right? Just look at that episode, Good Neighbors, where Squidward gets harassed by a security system that's malfunctioning. It really shows how bureaucracies can be super inefficient and way too complicated. In the episode, The Smoking Peanut, we see how things go off the rails when SpongeBob messes up at the Bikini Bottom Zoo. It's all about that bureaucratic fail vibe, and it gets wild. The way the authorities overreacted and the whole trial situation just shows how wild the city's legal system is. It feels super rushed and honestly kind of ridiculous in how it all plays out. This take on Bikini Bottom's government shows how messed up things are, where the systems that are supposed to help people just end up making everything worse. So, tons of fans are vibing on online forums, dropping their wild theories about what Bikini Bottom's layout and government really mean. So, one theory that's out there is that Bikini Bottom's weird layout and geography happened because of a nuclear test nearby. Wild, right? This theory vibes with the actual spot of Bikini Atoll, where they did those wild nuclear tests back in the mid-20th century. So this theory suggests that the wild architecture of Bikini Bottom, the freaky sea creatures, and the super weird government stuff are all because of radiation messing things up and causing total chaos. How crazy is that? So there's this theory that dives into the whole economic vibe of Bikini Bottom. Some fans think that Mr. Krabs is this capitalist overlord who's basically running the whole city's economy with his super successful restaurant. The Krusty Krab holds the town's economy together, while the Chum bucket is the ultimate struggle for small businesses trying to survive in a market that's dominated by one big player. Plankton's never-ending hustle to snag the Krabby Patty formula represents the grind of small businesses trying to make it in a world ruled by big corporations. Some fans are vibing with the idea that the quirky design of Bikini Bottom's buildings could be a clever take on social issues. The random and sometimes wild architecture might show how chaotic and unpredictable modern cities can be, where it feels like urban planning is just all over the place with no real logic behind it. On the flip side, the city's vibe could be inspired by the sea creatures. Like every building is as quirky and one of a kind as the peeps living in it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. What's your take on Bikini Bottom? Like the whole vibe of its architecture and the way the government works there? Make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, share this with your squad, and turn on those post notifications by ringing the bell. Appreciate you tuning in. Catch you later.